Hi, everyone. I'm smiling now, but the last 3 days I have been in the worst excruciating pain. Um, it's been really, really a rough 3 days. My back. If any of you suffer from back trouble, you know what it's like. One day you're feeling strong, you're moving around, you're doing everything, you're moving furniture, and or you just simply bend down and your back goes out. That's what happened to me. All I did was bend down to pick something up, and my back went out. Okay, maybe it's getting older, but I was dealing with this when I was in my 30s, so I don't know if I'd equate it to getting older, but to circumstances. Um, the pain that I've been through has been really hard. I mean, there's been no relief, not even from laying in my bed to rubbing it, massaging it, putting ice cold packs on it. Nothing really has alleviated the pain in my back. So you can imagine going through days knowing that even when you wake up, you're not going to be relieved. So this is what I've been going through for all of this time. So I would always go to bed in hopes that the next day I would be better. So hope is really good though. um, how did this happen? Well, I have three children, and my first son, who is 22 now, he'll be 23. He was the hardest delivery I have ever experienced. When people talk about the pain of childbirth, I think they are using that example of my son, who I was in labor with for 12 hours straight of excruciating pain. It felt like someone was killing me. In fact, it was so painful, I was screaming, just kill me. That's how the pain was. You women out there, you know what it's like. And I remember saying after I had him, I was like, I'm never having kids again. I was like, forget it. No more children. I'm done. There's no way I'm going through that pain again. And someone said to me, a wise lady, she said, you'll forget that pain and you'll want more children. And I was like, yeah, whatever you say. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not having any more children. So time went by and 8.5 years passed, and here I am pregnant again and happy about it. I did forget the pain, but I didn't forget it that much, and I'll tell you why. As soon as I went into labor, um, I went straight to the hospital and I told my doctor, I was like, give me an epidural. And he's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. And, I wasn't dilated that much. So he had assumed it would be hours before the baby would come out. So I was like, there's no way I'm going through this pain for all of this time. There's no way I'm going to do it. So he ended up giving me the epidural. I had to sign a paper that if I'm crippled or whatever, that I wouldn't sue. So that alone should have told me don't do it. But anyway, I did it. I got the epidural. The baby came out, and everything was good. And it wasn't even nearly as close to the pain as it was with my first son. In fact, it was probably just 1/8 of the pain. So I kind of exaggerated the memory in my head and equated it to it being the same experience with my second son, which it wasn't. Now here comes my daughter, and I'm pregnant with her. And again, the memories of my first son, not the second son, start to come back to me. So about 2 weeks before delivering my daughter, I was like stressed out already. I was like crying because of the pain that I knew I would be going through. I was like, oh man, I don't want to go through that pain. And I'm like, okay, not the pain of my second son, but the pain of my first son. I'm like, what if that happens again? So I get to the hospital. No, 2 weeks before, I told the doctor, just be prepared with an epidural, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. So I remember that there was a Puerto Rican woman that I had met, and I should always remember my mother's remedies. She said, once you're in labor, have your husband go in the kitchen, chop up some ginger, put it in a pot of water, and let it boil. After you do that, you add some evaporated milk and some sugar. And she said, on the way to the hospital, drink this, drink it. And I listened to her. I did it. On the way to the hospital while I was in labor, I'm sipping at this ginger milk sugar concoction, and it was really delicious. And she said that what it does is it eases the pain and it makes the baby come faster. So I'm getting to the hospital. I'm only in labor for about a half an hour. My water broke, everything. And I get to the hospital and I told the doctor, I want an epidural. So the doctor checks me and he's like, oh, it's going to be hours. You're not fully dilated, or whatever. So here I am still sipping the tea as the doctor's telling me this. And about an hour later, the doctor's like, I can't believe, and I wasn't in a lot of pain. It wasn't really any pain. And about an hour later, the doctors checked me again, and I was almost fully dilated. And he's like, how did this happen so quickly? And I looked at him and I said, well, this is a concoction that, was passed down generations to someone that I know, her family from Puerto Rico. And what it does is it stops the pain and it also enables the baby to come out faster. And the doctor's like, yeah, whatever. And then the Jamaican nurse who was in the room, she said, yeah, in Jamaica we use time. And I was like, oh. And so here it is. The doctor says I'm almost fully dilated, which means that within maybe 40 minutes or something, I could deliver this baby. And then he says if you take the epidural now, it could slow down the baby coming out. So me, with my fear, my ridiculous fear that just conquers everything reasonable within my head, I'm like, okay, give me the epidural. Sure enough, he gives me the epidural, and it slows down the baby's progress coming out of me. So now here I am 3 hours later, and the baby still hasn't come because I slowed the process of the tea that I was drinking down by taking an epidural. And instead of her just easing her way out of me, now I had to push and deal with the contractions that were coming. Okay, it wasn't really painful because I was, I had an epidural, but I had just stopped the process. I'm like, why did I even bother having my husband make the tea to begin with? But anyway, as a result, everything went well, brought my daughter home, everything. About a month later, I broke out with hives all over my body. I mean, these hives, I tell you, lasted at least a year. It was itchy. It was red. It would welt. I would just be speaking to people, and they would look at me, and they're like, "Oh my God, you have like red lines all over you that's just popping up." And I'd be like, "I know. I get hives, ever since I had my daughter." And I went to the doctor, and explained it to him. And of course, they do all these tests and stuff like that. And they're like, well, we can't explain why you're getting hives. And I was like, I think it's the epidural. I said, I honestly think the epidural has done this to me. So for 1 whole year, guys, I suffered from these hives. And not only that, every time I would get out of bed, my back would be weak and it would almost be as though it was collapsing beneath me and almost like my legs weren't strong enough to hold me up. And I had never been like that because I had always, had a strong back and a strong stomach. So I was like, what's going on here? I would pick up my daughter and I would feel like I was just going to drop her. That's how weak my back had become. So I suffered with that and the hives together for at least a year. So now here it is, almost 6 years later. Okay, I don't deal with the hives anymore, thank goodness. I tried to do a lot of cleansing and things like that. So that didn't happen to me. That hasn't happened to me in a long time. But every now and again, I could just bend down to pick something up and my back goes out. And it's to the point where you could feel like if I just move my arm a certain way or my leg a certain way, it just feels like right underneath me, my body is just going to give out. Epidural. So ladies, if you're pregnant, if you know someone that's having a child, tell them to do their research on epidurals. I'm not a scientist to say that it was that, but there was no problem with me before that. I had never experienced anything like that again. And right after the epidural, I felt like I had a weak back. So process of elimination. So just to warn you, do your research, study before you even go to the hospital. Try to be as natural as you can. And also remember the tea that I told you. Drink this tea on the way to the hospital. ginger cut up, boiled, add some sugar or whatever to sweeten, something healthy preferably, agave nectar or honey, and then add a little evaporated milk and just sip it. Make enough so that you have it even while you're in the hospital awaiting the baby's arrival. So just keep on sipping it, and I guarantee you that your baby will come out faster than what was anticipated. And not only that, but the pain of your labor and delivery will be eased phenomenally. So you guys take care. I'm really happy today. I'm excited. I'm actually going out because these last 3 days has been really crazy. So take care, guys. I hope to see you soon, and I wish you all good health. And I say barakatah.